We are 3 weeks away from polling day in the most boring and uninspiring election in my lifetime. Labour are going to win, and you think the strategy from Starmer is just to play it safe and ride it out. Well, the man can't seem to help himself and has brought Jeremy Corbyn's name up once again. So following on from what Rachel Reeves said earlier this week, that she rejected the fantasy Corbyn manifestos and compared it to the Tories, Starmer has also jumped on the bandwagon.
The Conservatives are going to pledge another 2p off national insurance. If you get into power, will you match it?
The money's not there for the Tories' desperation. And what they're producing is a recipe for 5 more years of chaos. And I think that's why it's so important that we see this election as a choice, because we can't go on like this. We need to turn the page, rebuild, start with Labour. We've got 6 first steps that are ready to go on July the 5th, get on with the job, roll our sleeves up. So that's the choice before the country now.
So just to follow up on that, they say that you will be putting up taxes, not cutting them. Is that correct? No tax cuts from you?
We have been absolutely clear that all our plans are fully costed, fully funded. We will not be increasing income tax, national insurance or VAT, so no tax increases for working people. None of our plans require tax rises. But this is coming from the party that's put tax to the highest level since, for 70 years. And they're building this sort of Jeremy Corbyn style manifesto where anything you want can go in it. None of it is costed. It's a recipe for more of the same, and that's why this choice of turn our back on this, turn the page and rebuild with Labour is so important. We've got 6 first steps, we're ready to go on July the 5th.
Now, everything he said in the clip from a campaign point of view was fine. I mean, I don't agree with it. But the last couple of years, Starmer has attacked the Tories on, their spending. So I'm not surprised he said that. But then he said something really stupid, which is to bring up Jeremy Corbyn. And it's just so incredibly pathetic to bring him up again when no one was really talking about him. But the Labour right clearly have deep scars from the fact that he was elected democratically, and they know their brand of politics wasn't popular. Well, they're leading in the polls and Corbyn lost, so they are popular. I get a response all the time. Well, for one, Corbyn secured 40% of the vote in 2017, more votes than Ed Miliband, Brown and Tony Blair in 2005. In 2019, he still got more votes than Brown and Miliband. And we all know that Labour are only doing well because of the Tory collapse. Now, he hasn't been leader for 4 years. Move the fuck on. But it's not just Starmer bringing his name up. He straight up lied on TV and said that none of it was costed. Now, that is factually incorrect. Both manifestos were fully costed. The only thing that wasn't was the pension pledge for WASPy women, but that was announced after the manifestos. But in terms of the manifesto promises, they weren't just fully costed, but John McDonnell wrote an extra pamphlet on how to fund the policies, which actually set a precedent. No one had done that before, and now political parties are doing it. Look, Starmer no longer needs to lie to get into government. I mean, his cheerleaders say this. Oh, I pretend to be right-wing so I can win. But the Tories have a 0% chance of winning, so why do it? It's because Keir Starmer is a pathological liar. And look, I'm being serious. I actually don't think he can help it. I mean, he's a bigger liar than Boris Johnson. Most of the time, Johnson lied to get himself out of trouble, whereas Starmer seems to do it on instinct. I think he actually enjoys it. What's so striking is that it seems like the parties have actually flipped. Now, usually, Labour are the ones that offer the better policies and pledge to spend more. And the Tories usually say, well, we can't afford it. Labour will break the country's finances. We are a realistic party. I mean, you're literally hearing the exact same rhetoric from Labour. The Tories are engaging in fantasy like Corbyn. They don't know where the money's coming from. You can't trust them. And it's even more striking when you realise that one policy of the Tories' childcare plan is actually more progressive than what Corbyn pledged in 2019. Now, in the manifesto, they say they will offer 30 hours of free childcare when they turn 9 months. Labour offered the same, but when they hit 2 years old. Now, of course, I don't trust the Tories to implement it if they were to win, whereas I at least trusted Corbyn would at least try to implement his policy, because he actually gives a damn. But that's besides the point. The Tories historically attack Labour on the economy for one simple reason. They don't want to implement policies that help the working class. But obviously they can't just say that, so they use the myth of affordability. That is exactly what Labour are doing now. They won't scrap the 2-child benefit cap, which to me is the most low-hanging fruit policy there is. It's the bare minimum, yet Labour say they can't afford it. Now, what's also interesting is this poll, and I know it's only one poll, although I have seen a couple saying the same thing over the last few months, which has Labour on less than 40%. Now, this one here, you can see Labour are on 38%. So because of our messed up first-past-the-post voting system, it's entirely plausible that Keir Starmer might win a huge majority with less votes than what Jeremy Corbyn got in 2017. So just think. Reeves and Starmer are attacking Corbyn and his manifestos, which polling showed, by the way, the number one reason why people voted Labour in 2017 was because of the manifesto, are attacking Corbyn despite the fact they might get less votes than him. Now, this also proves that Starmer has no political nous. He isn't a smart politician, but he's essentially failing upwards. I think it's a really good way of putting it, because he's only where he is thanks to the Tory collapse, because he's inviting controversy where he doesn't need to. I mean, Starmer signed off and stood on both of those manifestos, which just shows voters how dishonest he is. This is Starmer from 2019.
So here we are, it's Euston Station, just about 7 o'clock in the morning, about to get a train to meet the rest of the Shadow Cabinet and Jeremy Corbyn in Birmingham to launch our manifesto. I think in this election, what I'm hearing is people really want change. They want to end the inequality that they see. They just want decency and dignity. And that's what this manifesto is about. Real change, ambitious change, and ambition to meet the needs. Please have a read of it and vote Labour.
It's a massive blunder for him, and even the media have picked up on it and have been asking questions.
Why would Sir Keir Starmer call it a Jeremy Corbyn-style manifesto, taking the mickey out of the Conservative manifesto, given that he served in 2 of Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinets?
What Keir was saying yesterday was that the Conservatives clearly haven't learned their lessons from less than 2 years ago when Liz Truss went forward with her disastrous mini-budget, which crashed the economy, and people are still paying the price through increases on their mortgages. We've learnt the lessons from our 2019 general election manifesto, which was roundly rejected by the public and led us to our worst election defeat in our history. And that's why Keir Starmer has changed the Labour Party from top to bottom. And we're putting forward a manifesto that will be published tomorrow, where every single pledge will be funded and costed, but will still deliver credible and radical change in people's lives. The Tories' manifesto yesterday added up to £71 billion of unfunded spending commitments, which would have catastrophic consequences for people's mortgages and working people across this country. And we're still living with the after effects of that just less than 2 years ago.
But he backed Jeremy Corbyn's manifestos twice. Did he not know what he was backing back then?
Well, as I say, we've learnt the lessons from then. You know, that was the Labour election campaign in 2019. It was roundly rejected. As a result, Keir has listened to the country, reflected on where we went wrong, and responded to voters' concerns. And we make no apologies for that. And that's why a changed Labour Party is putting forward a credible, funded and costed manifesto that will be published tomorrow.
Now, at this point, there's nothing they can do but lie. I mean, Louise Hay saying there that, well, the manifesto we publish will be fully costed, kind of alluding to the idea that Corbyn's wasn't, which obviously isn't true. Another lie is to say their manifestos will be radical, which it won't be. Now, look, I don't expect this to change the outcome, but this still isn't good for them. I mean, Starmer will be the most unpopular leader to win an election ever. There is no core base for the Labour Party. Their vote is completely propped up by getting rid of the Tories rather than any sort of solid foundation. Showing the voters more and more that you are a lying piece of shit will not help you when you're in government. But the most disgraceful thing about this is that Labour under Corbyn actually offered some hope. It offered investment to reduce inequality, public ownership, the Green New Deal, all of which were costed. Now we have Keir Starmer, a vacuum of a man who was basically controlled by Labour Together and Morgan McSweeney, who will get rid of him as soon as he's no longer useful, and then we'll probably get Wes Streeting once he's finished destroying our NHS. Now, some of you may have seen that Turn Left have been doing live shows called Normal Island. We go live every Monday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Each show we have a special guest to cover the latest general election stories. But we need your help. Everything here at Turn Left is still voluntary and work around our paid jobs. The goal is to have enough income to rent a studio and one day to start paying ourselves. Now, you can help us get there by supporting Turn Left on Patreon for £3 or £5 per month at patreon.com/Turn Left Media. Now, the channel has grown significantly with exclusive interviews including Jeremy Corbyn and political party leaders. I want to see Turn Left continue to grow as an independent socialist media. Please give this video a like and share it widely. I'd also like to thank existing subscribers, members and patrons. Thank you and see you next time.